Actually, second time on one of these calls, but I was very quiet last time and just very much kind of listening. But I met Jessica, oh gosh, I can't even remember Jessica, but probably via Facebook, I think.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so probably a year ago now. My husband, Matt, is 44, and he was diagnosed with a GBM completely out of the blue in March of last year. So we met Jessica over the internet, and we FaceTimed, and then we were lucky enough to meet Jessica in London quite a few months ago when she was over to talk about our brain bank launching in the UK. So I'm on a call just really to say hi and hopefully help bring it over to the UK, and just pick up any advice that you've got, and if there's anything that I can give that we found out in the UK, then I can pass that on. And Matt's actually on Optune as well. We were very lucky in an unlucky situation in that there's only 10 people in the UK on the Optune clinical trial, and Matt is one of them. So he's getting on very well with it. We've got stable MRIs. Matt's is multifocal, so he's got one in his occipital lobe, one in his temporal lobe, and they debulked as much as they could, but it's remained stable, and he's an absolute legend, as everybody is dealing with this kind of diagnosis. So he's working full time. He sends his apologies for not being able to come on the call today, but he's going to try and get on future ones. He's on another conference call at work. So yes, hi everybody, and hopefully you'll see my name a little bit more on Facebook, because I've things have settled down a little bit now. It was all a bit of a whirlwind initially, but yes, I'm so pleased you've invited me on, and I hope I can help other people.
Oh, well, it's really lovely to hear your voice, Sam, and I can testify to others that Sam's a true powerhouse, and being a fantastic partner to Matt. And you've got young kids as well, so you've got a full plate and a new job.
Yes, just 2 days a week with AIG actually. So they've been amazing, and it's very flexible. So and it's a nice distraction, and of course it gives us a bit of extra money to do those really nice treats and making memories with the children. And in fact, I've just come out of a meeting 2.5 hours away from home with one of the best pre-bereavement counsellors we could have in the UK. She was amazing. So I'm really keen, as well as driving forward a cure for GBM and everything else around it, but also for support for families. Our kids are 7 and 9, and it's really tricky in the UK to get anything to cater for such such an awful prognosis. So I'm a real kind of that I'm on a mission there as well. So yes, I've just had a 5-hour round trip, but it was worth every second of it. So I'm nearly home now.
Well done you, Sam. Amazing.
Thank you, and lovely to hear you, Jessica, as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. Bratton, I see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm gonna have to go at some point. This is I do. You can see how I look, but I either run or do 5,000 meters on the rowing machine, and then I go swim 1,000 meters. So my swimming partner's coming to pick me up. You guys know I can't drive anymore, but I can still, run 5 miles. I ride my bike 10, 20 miles. So people wonder why, if I can't see well enough to drive, how can I see well enough to ride my bike? But I stay in the bike lane. I only hurt myself.
No, you're a superstar. I'm hoping after I'm starting, I've had this recurrence, had this surgery since I saw you last, and I'm going to have another surgery next week. So I'm joining this polio trial.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because after the recurrence I had, I was looking around madly for options. The two things that are happening at where I'm treated at Columbia is they're doing they were able to get enough tissue from the new surgery to do there's a kind of deeper dive analysis than is possible from the Foundation Center report now, And so we're waiting for the results of that to see. I think often in recurrence, there are actually more mutations in the cancer, which gives more hope that maybe some of those will match with treatments for other cancers. But also they're doing an N of 1 trial, which I had never heard of, but just share it for people. So it's like the opposite of a regular trial. A regular trial, you have 100 people, for example, testing one drug. In an N of 1, you have one person testing 100 drugs.
Oh.
So that's quite interesting. But I'm, obviously with recurrence, the cancer can come back more aggressively, so time can be shorter. So Ed and I embarked on a kind of furious frenzy of consultation. And we talked to people in the UK. Sam, there's some people I'd love to connect you to as well. And OurBrainBank is launching in the UK in a few weeks. But
that would be great.
There does seem to be quite a lot of innovation coming out of Germany. Many of you will have heard of the DC vax you can get in Germany, although it is $250,000 sort of money. But there is also a company called CGAT who will take your tumor tissue and develop a bespoke vaccination for you for your body. There's very little research to suggest whether this works or not, but it is something to be aware of. Anyway, we then also consulted with Dana-Farber because I live in New York and it's just up the road. And we met with David Reardon, and he said, completely unexpectedly, he said, because of the location of my tumor, which is relatively near the surface, and because it's quite small, he thought I'd be a very good fit for the polio trial. He used to work at Duke, where they pioneered it. And to cut a long story short, that's what I will be doing next week. There are some risks from the, I have lost a little bit of the peripheral vision on my right side. It doesn't really bother me.
That's, hey, I live it every day. So.
Well, I was thinking actually, Bratton, I want to talk to you about that because there is a risk with the surgery. They're going to they make a little hole and they put a catheter in. Now I have the original cavity, which is where the cancer occurred, but there's also a deeper spot. That was too dangerous for surgery, but they're going to go after that spot with this catheter because their hope is that because there's a bit of cancer there, they can provoke a bigger immune response as a result of the polio virus that will hit a wider, a bigger area. But of course, the risk is that I will lose more peripheral vision. And it's also not a million miles away from speech.
Oh. Yeah.
So, there's a risk reward. Do I do this, risking maybe losing a bit more vision, maybe having an impact on speech? But then the reward is like, they say I'm a perfect candidate and that this is a perfect window right now. So don't wait because it could grow a bit back bigger. It's already grown a bit since the surgery just 2 weeks ago. So we decided to do it, but there is a risk.
Well, the way I always look at it, I was told I might be crippled, and I figured if I could see my daughter graduate college in a wheelchair, that was worth it. So if you have a heart, and I have one pretty, I keep up with most of the people I've met, and I have one buddy who I keep checking. He's having a hard time talking to me on the phone, but he's hanging tough.
Yeah.
And they got into his, and he just kind of stutters.
Right.
And there's some words he has a hard time getting out. But I said, don't worry about it, Jim. I'm glad you're doing pretty well. But I have one good friend who, has become a good friend. I don't know if you guys know, but I have about, I have 30 people on my prayer list, and about 50 of them are GBM patients. And if I'm not sure how you're doing, I call you or send you a note. So if you get a note from me, and Hal, if you're on here, the reason I called you is she on the call?
Hal? Can't see.
I saw she was invited, but she didn't answer. So if you know how she is, let me know. I was checking on her last night. So, are you there? Okay. But if anybody needs prayers, let me know. And I do think that, positive thoughts help, the person and yourself. So that's at least my theory.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's true.
Well, my view is like positive thoughts help today. Let's hope they help tomorrow as well. But they help today.
Yes.
Yeah. Jessica, Matt has a real great loss of peripheral vision because his tumour, he's the largest one, and which is how we knew that there was an issue because he lost his peripheral vision, his lower left quadrant. His loss of peripheral vision has been quite a lot, so he does like a kind of visual field test quite often. He'll just sit at home and kind of have his arms stretched out, and he'll move them kind of in, and that it's not great at all. But he sorry, I didn't get the gentleman's name, but Matt cycles on a bike, and he still functions, at work full time. He just moves his head more to compensate for that loss of peripheral vision. But it is quite a lot when you look at, when he'll say, yeah, I can see my little finger now, and he has to move it right in on both sides. It's the lower left quadrant where he has a lot of loss. And a bit came back after surgery, and it kind of varies a little bit. But yeah, so that's his main symptom, really, Jessica.
Well, thanks, Sam. Yeah, and thanks, Bratton. I think it's really reassuring to know. And I think, do you know that terrible Monty Python sketch? There's some terrible Monty Python. Yeah. You know what I mean? Sorry, us Brits are probably a bit more familiar with Monty Python, but the guy, various bits of his body keep on falling off when he stays alive. And sometimes I feel a bit like that,
Yeah. Yeah, like the Black Knight.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Love it.
Look it up on YouTube if you haven't seen it. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Hi, Teresa. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you guys?
It's good to see you.
I was just laughing at that whole Monty Python thing because Stella said it was so great, and it was lost on so many Americans, and so you have to really work at it, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's funny. Benny Hill, Monty Python, it takes a minute, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So yeah. So well, guys, I'm coming up on 3 years of the seizure, October 1st.
Yay!
And then it's a big month because I had my surgery on the 21st. And then I think on the 25th I'll have my 25th or 26th MRI, wedding anniversary, Stella's birthday, surgery, seizure. It's a big month.
Oh.
So yeah.
Good
Great.
for you.
Thanks. So yeah, it's good.
21st, you're saying 21st is the anniversary of surgery.
21st is the anniversary of surgery. The 1st is when I had the seizure.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But I don't know. How are we counting anniversaries now?
I mean, how do you what marker do you give a marker?
There was 100% of the tumor and a centimeter margin all the way around. So that's kind of how I mark my anniversary. But I wasn't sure what everybody else does. I was just curious.
I do as many as possible.
Yeah.
I do my 3 year from the first time they were trying to figure out what I had. Do my 3 years from diagnosis and 3 years from surgery. They all count. Celebrate them all.
Any excuse for a party.
Exactly. I actually did order some champagne, so a very expensive box arrived the other day. But yeah, so October 1st was a seizure. And then the 21st, I mean, the doctor was like, it's GBM just by looking at it. I mean, if you were to look at my MRI, it was like incredible ring enhancement. And then the tumor was just black as coal in the middle. So it was like, yeah, there's a lot of, necrosis there. But they took it all. And so it's good. And I'm so impressed. Everybody goes back to work. For me, I did, but it was hard because temporal lobe, and still to this day, you know, I have a hard time, you know, reading crowds. Sometimes I know that people are ready to go, but I don't care. I just keep talking. And so I have to work on those things, but I'm happy to be, you know, be healthy. Kids are growing up, one in college, one, you know, moving along, and one just went to law school and is going to get married. So yeah, life's really good.
And you've been doing incredible work with Our Brain Bank as well, Teresa, you know, really, really incredible. So that's going to come to fruition soon.
Yes, yes. And I'm in the process of, I finally got access to the app, and I'm starting the user acceptance testing. And so hopefully we'll be able to start that matching program soon.
Yeah. Lynn, what about you? Do you do any particular marking for your anniversaries and things?
I always remember the day that my surgery day, which was December 13th, 2017. And I don't really celebrate. I just keep on going. And then I'm always asked, like, how long have I been wearing Optune? So that's another date. That's April of 2018. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
you doing well? Feeling good?
I'm doing well. I was telling Martha that they've made me an Optune ambassador.
Ooh!
So they're keeping me really busy.
Yeah.
In fact, I have a webinar later today at 7 p.m., like, where people are going to call in and ask questions. It's me and another woman. And I was at an Optune ambassador convention in October, a couple weekends ago. And my husband is becoming an Optune caregiver ambassador.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, they're sending us all over the place, and it's fun, but I'm busy and it's exhausting, but I feel like I'm helping people. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it can become more widely available for people. We have in the UK, we've secured charitable status. And we've also, there's a fantastic researcher at the University of Leeds she's actually worked in the States a lot. She's worked in Europe a lot as well. So she's very familiar with the ethical requirements to get associated with collecting any kind of patient data. Right. She really likes the app and what we're doing there, because she feels as a scientist that the patient experience is insufficiently understood to factor into some of the scientific modeling that's going on. Right. So she is securing us the ethical approval through the University of Leeds so that we can provide the app to people in the UK. So Sam and Sam's husband and many others. And we've also been approached by people in Australia who also have come across us online and really want to provide it. So I think that when we get to that point, it's helpful to share with our colleagues, our friends in the UK, as having Sam on the call now, and in time with Australia, so that you can share your experiences of tracking and monitoring the disease with the app, but also sharing with the community like this.
Oh,
and Jessica, sorry.
Oh, I have to go, but I love you guys.
Love you, Brad.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Oh, hello, Roberta.
My swim partner's here, so I need to go.
Catch you soon.
Have fun.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye. Nice fridge, by the way.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Nice fridge.
Yeah. I look out over the Cooper River Bridge. But sometimes I pray and meditate and watch the sunrise from here.
Nice.
Very good.
Very good.
Nice.
There you go. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Brad. Hi, Roberta.
Jessica, do you think that there's a sufficient description or documentary, for lack of a better term, of what the patient journey is for GBM? Because, you know, I think this happens over and over again with many scientists. I mean, I was in that drug discovery space. Those guys have no idea. They find a compound, they think it's important, they run a bunch of tests in test tubes, and eventually, you get your preclinical analysis. And I'm wondering if maybe we could help by, I always hate to make these suggestions because it ends up in my lap, but I'm wondering if there's a good enough patient journey with this disease. I don't know, what do you think?
I think that's a really good point. Others? Is Roberta here?
I can see your phone, Roberta.
See something.
I think you've hit upon something. I mean, we are, and I think it's also like, just speaking personally, there is a real difference from being part of a newly diagnosed club where, you suddenly find out you have this terrifying disease. And, we're an active community. I mean, just by definition, the fact that we're all on this call or we're on Facebook, we're being active about it. And that's one situation to be in, and it's pretty clear. You get to grips with things like, what does MGMT methylated status mean? And, the standard of care, do we supplement it with anything or not, right? That's the kind of territory we're in. And then there's another club, which is the recurrence club, which I'm now in. And there it's, I'm getting to terms with what that landscape looks like. And that's much foggier to me, because I'm newer to it, than the first one. It also makes me aware that even for people who are diagnosed now, the landscape has shifted quite a lot since I was diagnosed in January 2016. I mean, Optune had only just been approved for newly diagnosed. It was a really clunky, it was incredible. I mean, I used to have, I couldn't carry all the batteries to my meeting on my own. So yes, I think that you're absolutely right. But I think whatever the journey is, I wonder what the most help can be. Sharing stories, but also sharing the questions that one has asked that have been most helpful, right? Like, if there's one thing that I have found most helpful at whatever stage, it's been to be brave enough to say to a doctor of whatever kind, honestly, tell me, if you were me, what would you do?
Yeah.
Would you take the risk with this clinical trial? Would you do this immunotherapy? What would you do?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we could do a better job of sharing the approaches that have worked for us, all like that, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or, also like, basically, if I didn't have a very helpful and inquiring partner, I mean, the amount of work that we just did to go through finding what's out there. Like, Rachel, are any of you here members of the Glioblastoma Research and Information Network? It's one of the groups that we have on the OurBrainBank site. Rachel, who runs it, her husband David is treated by the same doctor as me. She's a nurse herself, an oncology nurse at Mount Sinai. She's unbelievable. She knows so much about not just the traditional stuff that's out there, but, oh, sorry, I just had to take this call. Sorry, it's from Boston.
So to me, it sounds like maybe it's something that we should consider as a group, the most, fundamental for scientists that are doing this research about, what does a patient go through from the very beginning or the first symptom.
Oh, so is my surgery on the 13th?
And then,
so I need to be.
And the next phase is like, how do we, help patients cope? So I think it would be really important. And I'm sure that there's some things out there that some pharma companies have assembled, but
and I need to be the full day before.
To me, it's just there's so much doom and gloom that maybe having some more information for patients and physicians and research scientists would be helpful.
Sorry, can I just interrupt it, Sam, from the UK? I'm going to have to shoot off because we're, I think, 5 hours ahead of you, and my children finish school at 3:30. But just that last point, that's probably something I feel, the most strongly about, behind kind of treatment plans for GBM, just access to information like that, and, whatever age bracket you fall into, you know, families like us, we're in our 40s with a 7 and a 9-year-old, or, you know, whether that's a grandparent, and, you know, all the different kind of demographics. But I'd be really happy to do whatever I can from the UK. But I'm just going to have to jump off the call now and say goodbye. And thank you so much for having me on. And I will try and get on the next one.
Okay, take care. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'll pop in while Jessica's on the phone, and we're getting ready to revamp our website. And one of the things we really want to do is capture these kind of stories, experiences. So we'd love it. Anyone who wants to do it, we'd love for you to do either a video or do something written, or you know, use your photo, whatever you want. Because I think if we talk about all these different experiences and collect them in one place, I don't think anyone's done that. And I think that'll be a good resource for everyone, for doctors and researchers and pharmaceutical companies to really hear firsthand these stories. And they could be short, just little 1-minute selfie videos. And then maybe even we could pull them together on our YouTube channel, and all, you know, edit them all together in one place. So we'd love to have input from everyone on that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and I think just, you know, the fact that we come across people, it's infrequent. I don't think totally rare that have some, you know, really, I would say substantial survival, you know, long-term survival. And it's really so positive and helpful for people, you know, to see 5, 10, 19 years, and you're like, really? They said 6 months and I was bank accounts or you know, whatever. By the way, Lynn, since you're a spokesman for Optune, you might want to ask them for some equity as the stock is going through the ceiling. My little capitalist person came out, you know.
It is and it's not. I heard it had a little drop, but so according to people I've spoken to, it's still speculative. And I asked my doctor about that, and he said it's speculative. And the reason it's going through the ceiling is because it's now approved for mesothelioma, where they put it here and under your arm and in your back. And then they also, now it's in either number 2 or 3 trials for pancreatic cancer. So that's why, you know, they're using it on different solid tumor cancers. But he said it's speculative because at any moment something can come down the pike that'll just wipe it out. It'll say like, oh, well, you know, that'll just take over. It could be a drug, it could be, and hopefully a cure. And then it'll be going through the roof. And they're not, and they do offer me honorariums for speaking, which I can't take because I'm on private disability for another couple of months, and I can start getting my honorariums. But they pay all my expenses.
Oh,
they
great.
just took us all to Chicago, 100% paid. You know, completely pay for me and my husband and another 30-some people. So that they do, but equity in the company would be great, but yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe they can find some sort of meeting in Spain or Rome or something.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to Israel, and that's where it was invented.
Nice.
So I said, if you need somebody in Israel, I'll be there. And they said, no, we don't send people that far away because they don't want you. They don't suggest that you take a plane ride that far, but it's okay. I mean, they said okay, but I did meet the guy who designs it. It's not the inventor, but the guy who designs it. He came to this meeting in Chicago. He came from Israel, and I have his card, so I'm contacting him, and I'm gonna see him when I'm there. I'm gonna get to see how they test it over there, you know, with the mice and stuff. They put it on little mice, and that's how they test it.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, you know, you can just say, like, you know, at the front of the bus, a long haul is just like sleeping in your own bed.
I know.
So they shouldn't really be concerned about the distance.
I know. It's an 11-hour plane ride, so. But
Brutal. It's brutal.
I know. I've done it many times. I know.
Just came back from Singapore, 16 hours.
So I was very early the day before.
Seek about how that process.
So it was, and partly just through, you know, like what you pick up. I'm very happy with my neuro-oncologist, Fabio Iwamoto. He's done a very good job. I mean, I was nearly 4 years without recurrence. But when it came back, I thought it would be good anyhow to check out. And at a meeting with him, he said, yeah, I think you should go. And I said, I was thinking like of maybe checking with Howard Fine, who's at Weill Cornell, works with Fabio, but that's part of the New York sort of scene. Howard Fine has recently published results where he's trying to actually grow brains in Petri dishes. And then, you know, give them glioblastoma. So he's got a reputation as at the forefront of the scientific inquiry. And there's a woman called Nancy Kuhn, who, Meredith, you know, she's on the board of OurBrainBank, and she is a 5-year survivor. She's had a number of recurrences. She was treated at Memorial in New York. She's now switched to Dana-Farber in Boston, but also Howard Fine. And so she's been a great source of confidence that, you know, when you have a difficult disease, at any point you can seek alternative opinions. So that's what happened. We booked to see, to go up to Boston to see David Reardon. And we also booked to see Howard Fine, but we then cancelled that because once we decided on the polio virus, you know, there was little point in going elsewhere. But I do think it's just to encourage, you know, when you've had a recurrence, at the moment, we don't have any good path.
No. Does your oncologist, Dr. Iwamoto, does he agree that you should go?
Yes, he does.
He's behind you on that?
Yes, and it was very important for me to have his blessing.
Yes.
So what he said was, I think, and he very much respects David Reardon and his work. And he said, I think if he thinks it's good, I can see why. I think you should do that, but it's not the only thing. He himself has put people on this trial and it hasn't worked out. He said, then there are the other options that we will look at is this deep dive analysis of the tumor tissue that they've done. He said that's coming through and it looks like they're matching to some other treatments.
That's great. And what happened to the mice?
And the mouse, so they put some of the tissue from my surgery into a mouse, and that takes about 4 months to grow. And then they can start hitting the mouse with treatments and seeing how it responds.
And then do you have organoids of your tumor as well then? Some little brains, did they do that as well or no?
Oh, what did you say?
Organoids, 3D cell culture. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a whole army of mouse out there called Jessica.
Yeah. Jessica. 100, 101.
Yeah, but I mean, my understanding of recurrence is increasingly it's about, you know, you often have more mutations in the recurrent tumor than you had in the initial. I'm still GMT methylated.
Yeah, I think that's very common.
After 2 years, so I mean, I might go back on Tamidar and Avastin or Lomustine.
Yeah.
Will you go back on Optune, do you think?
Yes, I might try that as well. I mean, you know, the reason I stopped was because of the terrible sores on my scalp.
Right, but maybe it won't happen again.
So all those things will be looked at again. But I think that there's nothing that seemed to me, well, the truth is, if you've got one of the world's leading neuro-oncologists saying you have a window of opportunity to take advantage of something where I think you're the perfect candidate and it's the perfect time, it's quite hard to say no to that.
Yeah, totally hard to say no. So there's the GBM, that information network that you were talking about. And again, I'm wondering from our journey perspective, how do we, because like we're lucky, right? Because we're affluent, we're educated, we're in like metropolitan areas. So how, I just get exasperated on a daily basis dealing with rural or suburban physicians that don't have all the details at their fingertips. So how do we, like, you know, again, that's the journey, the pathway, terrible things where maybe that's something we can put on our OurBrainBank's website, is all the various things that are available now you should look into. And if you don't have that resources to get there, apart from clinical trials and the matching, it's how can we like broker relationships or introductions with a patient and their insurance to a physician. You know, because physicians are resistant, because until a company demonstrates clinical utility, if they're conservative, They don't want to like encourage their patients to do anything. And I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really learning that now with a separate, completely different disease that I'm not associated with physically, but that's something I'm engaged in. And I'm like, wow, these guys are really reluctant. And the only way that things are happening is because patients are demanding it.
Absolutely. Yep.
So how do we I think again, this is part of what, what we're doing at Our Brain Bank is, I think we need to kind of continue to encourage patients to demand, better care, more options.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm meeting with the International Brain Tumor Association and the National Brain Tumor Society in a month or so. So, we did that patient charter survey.
Mm-hmm.
No media picked it up. I mean, that was a bloody pain in the arse. It's really up to us. We need to kind of spread the word. I think we need to really put this out. Anyway, meeting with them to develop a kind of, it's Martha's brilliant idea, a kind of Bill of Rights or a patient's charter,
Mm-hmm.
which would work globally, which would be like, here's fundamental principles that should underline good practice when it comes to glioblastoma, wherever you are, whoever you are. Sorry, I might have to leave again. I've got another call coming in.
Yeah. Did you guys read that book, How to Survive a Plague?
What's it?
How to Survive a Plague. It's like, was all the insanity with HIV, Reagan, refusing to even say the word and all that stuff. It was just what these guys did to, get treatment. And it was really a very, very patient-driven movement. Yep. It's a great book. I mean, it's alarming and infuriating, but you're just like, wow. Yeah.
Interesting. Does anybody, maybe Jessica knows, but have you heard of this GBM Agile, AGILE?
Yes, I do know
about that.
It's a really, really good thing. It's a clinical trial that's trying to sort of look at the fact that at the moment, the clinical trial system doesn't really work for a disease like glioblastoma, which constantly changes, and therefore treatments constantly change. Right. So it's in the name, it's agile. What it means is it can adapt. It can adapt according to how your journey adapts, and it can take that into account. So it's a new trial model. I think that it's a really good thing to take to be involved in order to help give the evidence that actually you can have a really sound, scientifically proven trial that can switch around. But I don't think on its own it's necessarily going to be a curative thing.
Isn't one of those breast cancer trials right now too with multiple therapies where you get on one, it's like a circle, and then if you don't see results, it kicks you into like another thing kind of going around, and so you have this, I don't know, I'm not sure about Agile, but
I know, but I think it's how to, I think the National Brain Tumor Society has been really involved with Agile, and I was offered that as well, and I will look at it, but my priority is staying alive. I'm looking at it, my criteria is, what is the best treatment that's going to give me the most amount of time?
Mm-hmm.
I would say also that, it makes me think that what we do to support ourselves psychologically is terribly important. Whether we share that enough. I think these calls are great. I know I'm going to feel really great after. I feel good now. But, I see this shrink, and she's great. Are we open enough about, getting that kind of support? Having, not everybody needs it, but some do.
How do you find a good surgeon or a good psychiatrist or therapist that's knows a lot? Sorry, it's my Chihuahua. How do you know, like, Zuki? How do you know? How do you find a good therapist that's understands cancer? And like, when do you know? Like, when do you know that it's okay that you have to be 100% selfish and taking care of yourself and not everybody else? These are things that nobody talks about.
Well, I can share with you what I did, which was I'm trying to think when it was. It was probably a year or so after I was diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And I think it was at a point where the kind of shock of the diagnosis was starting to wear off, and you know, that balance between, oh my God, being in the, you know, in the headlights of like your life has dramatically changed, and adjusting to a new normal, and feeling like it's not a very nice new normal.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned it to Fabio, my neuro-oncologist, and he said, why don't you go and see this woman, Marina Bernard? She's a psychiatrist. We trained together at Memorial. I remember going to see her, and it was quite a long journey from the subway station to her office. And on the way, I was thinking, why am I going? You know, what is, you know, she's probably just going to give me some antidepressants. I don't know if I really want that. You know, what am I trying to seek out of this? And it's like, I don't have a hard problem talking about how I feel. So what is it?
Right.
And I realized that for me, I just needed an element of hope.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one time, because my doctor's quite softly spoken. So he's not one of those people who goes, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. He'll say, how are you? Got a very strong Brazilian accent, quite hard to understand him. And one time he said, oh, you could be one of the few that, you know, once he just said that. And it had kept me going, you know, for ages. So when I finally got to see the shrink on the way, I said, I think I just need an element of hope. And you know, I find it very hard over terminal disease. And she said, you know, we had a chat, and she introduced me to this book, which you may have read, called Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's incredible book. It's an incredible book. Yes.
I've never read that. I'm gonna write that down.
It's a little book. It's heavy, but it's worth reading. It's by Viktor Frankl, Frankl.
Man's Search for Meaning. Okay.
I've probably read it about 1 million times.
Really?
He was a Jewish psychiatrist who survived Auschwitz through his psychiatric and empathetic skills, basically.
Right. It's about having meaning in life. And I mean, I don't want to make little of it, but that's basically, to summarize, it's finding a reason to stay alive. I mean, they say that a lot of the Holocaust survivors, the reason they stayed alive had a lot to do with attitude and belief and like inner strength, not so much their physical abilities.
And he did things like, you know, he was so empathetic that the capos, you know, the Jewish sort of guards, you know, one of them was always having problems with his girlfriend. So he ended up talking to Victor quite a lot about his girlfriend and his relationship. And Victor became his kind of little, you know, his own little advisor. And as a result, he got slightly preferential treatment. You know, he got a little bit nicer bowl of soup. He didn't have quite the worst jobs in the camp. And those little differences added up to the ability to actually survive and not die. And so for me, what was really brilliant about that book and going to see the psychiatrist, and it all adds up to what we're doing here, us deciding what we're going to do about this disease, and not just the disease deciding what it's going to do.
And us deciding how we're going to lead the rest of our lives. And like I said, I've become this ambassador for Optune, and it's just really changed me. It's encouraged me, inspired me, just to be able to talk about it and help other people that are like in a fog and they don't know where to go. And I mean, I'm really limited on what I'm allowed to say, but even that amount that I'm allowed to say is really helpful for me as much as for other people. I mean, I find it really helpful for me to be out there helping other people.
You guys are so powerful and so brave. I mean, my personal experience being in the biotech scientific community in San Diego is like, my close friends know, but I really don't want a whole lot of people to know about me because I don't want it to negatively impact my ability to continue to seek work, because everybody's like, oh yeah, you're dead. You know?
Of course.
Like, yeah, so it's like pancreatic cancer, brain cancer, osteosarcoma. They're like, okay, next. And so, and then it's worse when it's in your head. And I'm like, God, Teresa, don't be such a pussy.
RBG, RBG, RBG.
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Good point. Good point.
I already told my husband if I go before she does, give her all my organs.
Oh, Lynn, that is brilliant.
I have said that many times, and he's there. Oh, you're not going anywhere.
That's
Really.
awesome. Well, that makes me laugh. Thanks so much. So, you know, I mean, we just need to be more, everybody needs to be more like you guys.
We need to be positive. We need to laugh. We need to have fun. We need to plan things. Let me give you guys a little hint that you may not know, but and a lot of brain tumor survivors or like us don't know, is if you have this already, and this has made a big difference in our life, if you have life insurance in force, doesn't matter what kind of life insurance it is, if you're diagnosed with a glioblastoma, you can collect your life insurance now. You don't have to wait till you're dead. Okay? And we took my life insurance. I'm very happy to watch my children enjoy it now while I'm alive. We paid off all our bills. I mean, this is where I'm going with this, is that I told my husband, if I do this, you have to promise you're not going to work as hard and we can spend more time together and do fun things. He goes, you plan it, I'll be there. So yeah, it's changed our lives. I mean, it wasn't $1 million, but people do have $1 million out there in life insurance. So I mean, mine wasn't as, my husband has more because whatever, but you know, but it was
I didn't know that. That is actually,
it's information.
Wow.
That, and when he first suggested it, when I was only a few months after diagnosis, I said, no, that skeeves me. I don't want to do that, because I didn't know how long I was going to live. But then recently we discussed it and it really made sense. We paid off all our bills. Our cars are paid off, our mortgages, everything's paid off. And we just have like our electric bill and our condo fee and things like that, like the regular monthly stuff. But he doesn't have to kill himself now. He's a life insurance agent, so he can work when he wants.
you're smart.
And I think he was starting to panic because my private disability will end in December. So he's thinking, that's a big chunk of money that's not going to be coming in anymore. So, you know, and we didn't have to touch our retirement money yet. So this is, yeah, so people should know about that. It's called accelerated benefit. And if you don't have it, you can add it and then claim it. And some insurance agents will say, oh no, you have to, if you live, well, your doctor has to write and say you're going to die within a year. Well, my doctor said, I know this isn't going to be true, but I'm going to write this because I know he'll do anything to help me. So it's not a lie because it's glioblastoma. And as soon as my husband called the insurance company, they said, oh, well, that's a shoo-in. That diagnosis is a shoo-in for being allowed to get your insurance. And you can't get the whole thing all the time. You can get like a chunk, but a big chunk is helpful. We know somebody who, he has 2 young kids and a wife. The wife works 3 jobs because he can't work. And they did a GoFundMe on Facebook just to pay their bills. So Larry's been in touch with them, and my husband has been in touch with them. Like, you don't have to do this.
Adam and Whitney.
What?
Yeah, no, I was just guessing.
Oh, you know that's who it is.
Yeah, no. I mean, Adam used to work very closely in our brain. I'm really glad to hear that because it's crazy the situation they're in. And he does so much good for the world, you know?
Well, Larry's trying to help them. I mean, it's confidential, I guess, but Larry's trying to help them. And Whitney was really excited in the beginning. Yeah. And then she sort of dropped out, like either she's overwhelmed or whatever, but he's still trying to help them because he's got a huge policy that they can just breathe.
Yeah, keep at it. She's got 3 young kids. She's got 2 jobs. Okay. And Adam has just gone on a massive speaking tour to and all these places.
Yeah,
he's got so much on her plate.
And he's not, and he's
little money.
Right. And yeah, and they don't have any money. It's really like,
it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel fortunate only because I'm retirement age, so I don't really have to worry that much. And I have retirement money, and now I have my insurance money. We gave the kids a bunch of money. And the best thing we gave our kids, they loved it. We gave them each $1,000 gift card to Target. So
excellent.
They're like, besides we paid for different things for them, like big things, but they were like so excited to go walk into Target and buy whatever they wanted. Because they have little ones, and that's like really helpful for them. Yes. So, you know, rather than waiting till you're dead and then your kids are sad, they're spending your money, but they're sad. Now they're happy and they're spending the money. So
I'm going to look into that accelerated benefit.
Yeah, me too. Me too. That's
And
so.
don't let them tell you that your policy doesn't have it. Call me. Get in touch with me, and my husband will make it happen. And don't let them tell you that you have to pay it back if you live more than a year. It is not true, because my husband has done this for other people in the past. And one guy lived years afterwards, and then he died of something else. But yeah, it's really a big deal.
Does
Okay.
that work for both policies, term and whole life, or is it just
Anything that's still in force.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
I think the other thing is, like, you know, I think it's fantastic what you're doing for Optune. I think, what about, like, we want to formalize a bit the Our Brain Bank, like, patient advocate program, because we get, you know, there are platforms and groups that we should be speaking at. I mean, you know, we should be able to help cover travel costs and stuff, and do speaking notes and key points to say. You know, do you think you'd be interested in that? Would people be interested in that? It's hard to get the word out, and we want to make more voices associated with Our Brain Bank.
I think people would.
I think so, but it's going to be expensive. I mean, they pay for a lot of. I mean, they go through this company. Optum goes through this company called Snow, SNOW. This woman named Brenda Snow, and she has done this for other diseases. And it's a whole PR company.
Oh, well, we can't do that. I mean, you know, I'm talking. You know, we're up to us. I'm talking.
Yeah, I know. Unless you get big enough, but yeah.
Well, maybe we can make some sort of a related American or something like that where people that have like some miles, we can create a, maybe, I don't know, Martha, you'd have to check to see if this is true. If there's a way to donate miles as well as whatever, so that we can move people around. Or if, you know, we can just work with one of these, you know, airlines that'll, you know, or maybe Boeing, who can use a little bit of help.
Like they have local Optune, what do they call it? Optune open houses. Like I'm in Philadelphia, but there's one coming up in Baltimore, and they're sending me there. But they pay for anything. They're just going to pay for us to drive there. I mean, if I wanted to fly there, which doesn't make sense, but we're going to drive there, and we're going to drive back, and they're going to pay for our gas or whatever it is, or mileage. They do it like that. Local things. And then I'm doing a webinar. So that's kind of what this is, sort of. Yeah. But people have to be willing to come on and talk, and yeah. So,
well, I think we're coming up to the hour.
Yes, and our list of to-dos just continues to grow, which is so amazing.
Oh, it's lovely to see you all, and I missed you all recently.
Well, you need to get better.
Yeah,
that's what's important. I mean, you look great, but that's what everybody tells us, don't they?
I know.
You know, look.
I know they said you're ridiculously healthy.
Right.
Except.
Right. You want to know something? I haven't had a cold since this all started, and I had a cold the other night. I couldn't sleep all night. Not last night, the night before. I had a sore throat. You can hear me. I'm a little nasal. My nose is running. I'm saying, this is ridiculous. And now I feel sick. I don't like it. Right? But I think it's going away.
Absolutely crazy.
Yep.
Well, wish me luck. I'll tell you how it goes.
So you have all of our prayers. Absolutely.
Thank you, darlings. Great to hear from you all.
Put it out there somewhere so we can
we'll do.
Know how it goes. And
yeah.
And
we'll do. And actually, I think a post on your life insurance points might be.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Oh, you're going to do it? Yeah. Just start it.
If you could
please contact me if your agent, and my husband said if your agent hasn't told you about it, he's not doing his job. That's his opinion. Yeah. So
Lynn, would he do one of these voices chats about that? I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I bet he would.
Okay, I just did a quick Google and found a post about it that looks okay to me, but can I run it by? I'll send it to you, and you could run it by him and make sure, or if he has a better one or one from his company or anything that explains it all.
That's really great, you know. And actually, my insurance agent didn't tell me about accelerated benefit, but he helped me buy more life insurance, which I didn't think you would be able to do with this disease.
Yeah,
I didn't think you were either.
So, you know, I just did. You know, buying more term and converting term to whole life.
Well, you probably had something where you didn't need like a physical or something to convert and things like that.
Well, yeah. Well, the other thing I had is, and I haven't used it yet because I'm fortunate, is, you know, at some point where the company would take over the payments. You know.
Oh, that's if you're on disability waiver.
Yeah, but I you know, I didn't invoke that, so I'm not sure. I'll ask David and see what he can do. He works for Northwestern Mutual. Maybe we can get a couple of these insurance guys on.
Right.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Okay, but one-on-one, definitely contact me. I'll let my husband can call you and he can walk you through it or do it for you, whatever. So, and he doesn't get any commission on it or anything, so don't think about that. So.
Cheers. Love you.
Bye, everyone.